Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This is a series that consists of spewing out assorted thoughts which arose from somebody who thinks too much, taking in, and generally loving various entertainment media by the boatload. These tidbits may be little theories, observations, or simply jokes. Please bear in mind that all these ideas come from the perspective of somebody who's experienced every main story bit connected with whatever is currently being gone over. So spoilers will be here. However, other works set in a shared continuity will typically solely be referenced in a way that only makes sense to anybody who's also fully experienced those ones up until their same time occurring point. Sort of a coded nod kind of deal. Now, with all of that out of the way, here we go. X is amply armed with weaponry by default, despite Light wanting a peaceful life for him, because the good doctor must have figured, wondering why so many other bots had inherent attack capabilities, while he didn't. Actually seemed like a scenario that probably hold greater odds for violence having. This idea would be especially prominent in Trusty Tommy's main brain, because his first experience with the genre of robots acting on their own was rather teenage rebellion. These energy capsules, oh so neatly stashed underneath the highway, might be meant for stranded vehicles and or their driver pilots. Zero, being incredibly confident about X's true potential, might have something to do with deeply buried memory programming junk that involves information Wily got by spying on Light during their final days. The capsules spread throughout every X game must actually all be, initially at least, stashed in a secret lab somewhere where a still perfectly fine Auto builds and maintains their contained armor parts after being instructed by his father-creator-shaped AI hologram roommate. These things get everywhere because they are equipped with teleport systems the Light program takes advantage of to give X what he needs when it's best, depending on their world's current threats. The first future fights featured foot art is, of course, but somewhere Thomas knew X would experience mobility changes anyway, so why not let him have some say in this matter? Doc Beautiful developed demolition-enabling headgear because of how often original recipe Mega Man journeys ended with ceiling collapse-rammed craziness. Blatantly better, barely blue blaster is put in a place that requires clever usage of not entirely violence-focused tools to reach, because Light prefers that an especially bloodthirsty X couldn't obtain it so easily. Advanced armor's anchored near this robust reconstruction robot because serenity-seeking sparkly scientist wants to teach his latest metal son about being careful with avoiding attacks, even when one is all extra defense having, by making him face somebody who's packing guard gear equaling what he's gonna have soon. Most warrior Reploids are animal-themed because designers, and even the machines themselves, thinks it's useful for them to have a non-language barrier influence method for long-distance reaching, dangerous area approach indicating continuous message sending hoopla. Of course, most boss bots who volunteered to take the formerly brave new scientist's occupied job of living in Antarctica for research purposes would prefer a form the local penguins are comfortable with. There are many types of seemingly misplaced animal mechanoloids present here, such as ostriches, bees, and bunnies, so the workers don't get bored with the above-ocean wildlife variety lag most extreme climates experience. That ride armor's here just in case a glacier or whatever need moved. The snowball-throwing doodads must normally be used for retrieving dropped items from within piles of said sorta solid shivers-applying stuff. In addition to typical fire versus ice crap, thrown flames fracture full functionality for Frosty Featherface over here, because melting all that snow results in slide speed sapping and other friction change-related shenanigans, which subsequently cause crashing kookiness. These impatient light phoenix things must be meant for search and rescue of people in mines and whatnot. Blob Bunked Bazooka Boss would be for charging up massive portable energy stations and or taking care of incredibly dire situations where entire coastlines are experiencing blackouts. The storage goo is probably for making sure it doesn't get messed up by storms or what have you while traveling. Drilling devices are so prevalent here to help convert this power plant place into an acceptable war base. Heart tanks must be one of many optional upgrades Reploids can install within their systems. There would be several others that fill the same soft/hardware slots that aren't useful for content. On that note, most of the stuff X finds to power himself up with in the game, maybe from fallen generic hunters. Freezing parts of Mangy Mandrill simply renders him unable to harness proper electricity levels for fighty fun. Dr. Light and his AI Holocore must play at least one version of Street Fighter that's installed within himself to relax. Captain Computer Contained didn't devise a way to pass the techniques onto X earlier, because not only had he not yet figured out how such physics-defying whackness could be made real, he also wanted to reach a tournament entry-allowing level of skill. Hypothetical artificial Kozak and him must play against each other all the time. Mostly mighty, maybe Mouse likes energy absorbing, so he can dig non-stop without having to to worry about any speed reduction whatsoever. Shocking chatter Sir Steel Soil Shifter because he's carrying a plethora of conductive material that society regularly needs mine. Plated puffers probably catch their real deal counterpart and then precisely chop them up inside so the non-poison parts are ready for biological diner consumption. Solid slab skinned seahorses / serpents seem suited for checking out potential oil reservoirs and prepping that soaked soil in a drill enabling manner. Also, that deal down below with the second one near a hard tank is likely some sort of submarine storage station, hence why there's a vessel hovering right above it that must be destroyed for access. The rolling shields of luminous vibration mess with launches, battling V-spot build that's only meant for handling aquatic pressure. These aren't straight-up damaging lasers because the cannons they signal slowly operate by utilizing energy absorbed from intruder machines. They aren't programmed to sap life from biological stuff because not only would said cell sacks not be nearly as powerful, there's also the potential of wasting too much energy / time with insects and whatnot getting taken into account, especially the maintenance required for dealing with such a scenario, regardless of whether or not it's for making these things ignore those aforementioned tiny pests. Boogieing boomerang battlers' teleport posture can't handle the concussive and melting combo of those enemy-seeking missiles, which always find him rather easily due to all that shaking. Boulder bots would be for checking the structural integrity of cave walls and seeing if / when they will collapse. On occasion, they are able to prevent such seemingly inevitable catastrophe by installing more stones under there. There is ride armor here to place / maintain artificial trees and or harvest lumber from real ones. Both Stink Chameleon's tongue and tail get simultaneously sliced up by Sir Slice Shaker's swiftly soaring scissors. Pickup copters are extra abundant here because this world's airline industry really wants to make sure lost baggage is a relic of the distant past. Considering Storm Eagle prefers to survey the land by going up high and seeing everything all at once, he most likely simply doesn't like stealth stuff. Also, this 3-part attack can hit both his wings and all that torso junk at the same time. Sub-tanks replaced E1 because of the varying level of robot strength in a world where machines mostly make their own life choices. The virtual vitality restoring goodness is meant to be shared with each other if not all is needed by a payload. Nothing gets left over in this game because making them for Reploids, which are not so good copies of X's design, didn't work out too well. In addition to that weaponized wind cooling him down considerably, Mr. Melty's massive weight and general shape makes recovering from getting pushed down / around quite tricky. Sigma is quite apt at stronghold hiding because having machines that actually possess free will following you really helps with throwing people off your trail. What with the whole ability to figure out lies tailored specifically for each individual who happens to interrogate you, heal, and all that other nonsense which comes along with such stuff. Those main defenses Zero intended to take out were most likely the revived Manager Mavericks. X absorbing that energy shield shot by Vile may have stemmed from him copying the Ride Armor's power supply functions as it got destroyed. Bigger, better Blue Bomber can take the Z-Buster because it's just like the Mark 17 equivalent of Base's Blaster, which of course was based on original Mega Man's normal weaponry. Most fighters don't really do winter weather. Also, this thing probably ain't designed with extreme temperature resistance in general, since it was never meant to leave this one room. The required rematches may not necessarily involve revived rival Reploids, at least when it comes to this game anyway. Instead, they would simply be generic Sigma sympathizers, upgrade with the same customization parts as those beaten bosses that their slyly sinister supervisor simply had lying around for minor repair demanding scenarios and whatnot. Rangda Bangda is more than a little weak to a lot of stuff because it doesn't have much in the way of specific defense features, since making it specialize in one thing would kind of eliminate the purpose of being a wall, and rendering it completely indestructible would potentially screw the big boss over if too much malfunctioning happened. After all, nobody would want an invincible obstacle to get infected with a virus somehow and ruin any grandiose lands that happen to be brewed. Such a defeat would be impossibly shameful. Boomerang Cutter demolishes this particular Rex because it's slicing up wiring, vital for that main electrical attack of his. Said slithery shock sheaths are also important for his living. This supposedly savage cyber slug supplying super shoot seems suited for helping instruct that Belgauder deal on how to hunt down enemies of his master. Speaking of which, polar particles pulverize putrid patrol pup because his thin limbs having lower mobility, including the tail, really sucks. So, shocking sent Sigma somewhere unpleasant because that not necessarily a saber light weapon dealing with X-ray electricity nearby really mucks him up. Sir Scarily Smiley's final form has atypical shield issues because the intensely shaking orb jostle had him loose from his socket cockpit prison view. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.